Hey guys, what's going on? So today we are talking about the recent patch that we had for Honkai Impact 3rd here in Global and some changes that you may have missed. I was reading the patch note like last week and there were some things in there that I hadn't noticed, and even though the patch is like almost a week old now, I thought it would still be an okay idea to go through it, or at least the non-obvious parts of the patch and the stuff we already went through like Teresa and such. Firstly, something that might not be immediately obvious is both the A rank and the S rank Teresa will be available in standard supply, but only after the expansion supply ends. This may be how it is for all new Valkyries, but it was news to me at least. With the update came this extra story for Teresa called Everlasting Memories. After completing all of the objectives on hard and normal, you're going to want to farm the secret stages on hard mode, so EX 1 through 4 every day, or at least until you have enough of these proof of faiths to get all the Teresa fragments if you want them, and the stigmata that costs 100 by itself. The reason you do the extra stages rather than any other stage is because you get 2 of these items, whereas on all the other stages you only get 1. You can only do each extra stage once a day, but as far as I'm aware, the event goes long enough that you'll have plenty of those by the end of it. So instead of going for the normal hard stages, I guess that's how I have to call it, so like 1-2 hard, for example, it costs 15 stamina and you only get 1 of these proof of faiths. So a more efficient way, of course, is just to do the extra stages. So yeah, we just completed a hard stage just to make absolutely sure, and it seems to be that way. Apparently there's a new Infinity Abyss called Gluttony, and I did notice some changes. I'm not sure if we had Gluttony last week or if these were just changes that I didn't happen to read, but it seems like you're not fighting any Valkyries anymore on certain stages. Like sometimes you would come across like White Comet or Blade Strike, etc. as a boss for that stage, but that doesn't seem to be the case, except for Bronya on floor 20 and 33, of course. They seem to mostly be replaced by these big red mechs. Also, there was like a 30% damage buff to Fuha. I think that's a Valkyrie we don't have yet, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, besides that, pretty much the same thing going on there. Unless Gluttony hasn't actually started yet and that was still just the same with some minor changes, we'll have to wait and see for that. A handy little feature which I did mention when I was first going over the update, but wasn't actually able to show because it hadn't happened yet, is if you type your name here in the upper right, down here below like your card ID, you can see the exact server time. So server time right now is 7:35 in the morning. It's actually 8:35 in the morning for me. So I pretty much know now that server time is 1 hour before my time. So whenever you see anything in events, for example, like the summer festival coming soon, I can see that starts at 10 o'clock server time, but that actually means it starts at 11 o'clock my time. And I think that's always good to have. In the same vein, if you go into other settings down here, you can see they've added some new stuff like the damage amount toggle. You can also just turn the numbers off directly, although I would never do that. I love seeing the big numbers. You could also turn it off for team characters. You could also turn off special effects for team characters. I have no idea what the real-time in-combat messages are though, so that might be when you're like in a co-op and, you know, someone can press like help or serve tea for whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. There's also been quite a bit of shop updates. For example, you can now buy these EXP chips for gold. Not sure if that's worth it since I still have plenty of those, even after raising a lot of Valkyries. You have that option now, as well as these, of course, these upgrade materials, which you can buy with gold, and also the 1-star upgrade materials. What actually needs these though? Also, the Valkyrie pieces seem to always be on discount, so 28 for a shard. Depends on how urgently you want them, but it looks like you can purchase up to 5 times now instead of just once. And one of the really cool things about this update, which I didn't happen to notice until quite a bit later, is that when you're throwing Valkyries on these adventures, you don't need to take care anymore that it's maybe a Valkyrie you need to use. You can use any Valkyrie you want to, and you can still use them everywhere else now, which makes it a lot easier to have all your adventures going. Because I can go on 4 at the same time, but it was quite hard to do that, especially with these S and A ranked missions, which you need usually 3 Valkyries, so I couldn't do all 4 without dipping into some of the ones I would actually need. But now, easy peasy. That really annoying horse thing called Dark Shanyuan has been removed forever, thank God, from the bosses in the Armada. I hated that thing, the worst boss ever. I'm glad they removed it. Also, another change here is that the boss's HP across the board has been reduced by 60%, but also your entries have been reduced from 5 to 3. Also, we get a much bigger window to actually attack the boss, so that's really nice as well. It does require a little bit longer to get a whole team together though, because you have like 6 hours to attack the boss, so there's no rush to jump on it immediately at 7 now for me, unless of course you want to be somewhere in the rankings, because the boss still can die very quickly. Another awesome thing that I actually didn't realize until I read the patch note was that the drop chances have been increased across the board. For Valkyries, you are guaranteed to get a fragment within 3 runs. Now, it used to be 4 runs and you were guaranteed a drop. Now it's 3 runs for a hard mode and 2 runs for a supreme stage. So that means essentially you will get a guaranteed fragment when you're doing all the stages per run. For example, Scarlet Fusion here, we have 3 places we can farm. That means if we farm all of them, we're guaranteed at least 3 drops. Could get more if we're lucky, but guaranteed 3. And I thought that was really nice as well. Also, it seems like they may have went ahead and patched Yamabuki Armor's like laser trick ultimate thing. Honestly, I never really got into that. I was just using her for her shield in some really hard stages, and that's pretty much it. But apparently if she had a laser weapon, she could be spamming the laser, go into her ultimate, and that would like kind of reset the overheating or whatnot, so she could like permanent laser, I guess. And there were a few more bug fixes and little balance changes that I don't really feel are worth mentioning, because those sorts of things are more in the background and you'll notice them. I mean, there was a bit of a 7th Sacred Relic buff where its active skill doesn't consume SP anymore. Also, when you max out the passive, its cooldown is reduced a little bit more, but those are all things you would notice anyway if you had 7th Sacred Relic, etc, etc. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for the little changes you may not have realized were there. I'm sure there are some of you who did know all of this stuff. Maybe a lot of you went ahead and read the patch note anyway, but on the other side, I know there are a lot of people that aren't so hardcore and want to know every little detail about every, update, so they're not going to bother reading the patch note. But there were some important things that I think weren't immediately obvious, and I wanted to kind of go over them. But that'll pretty much do it for today. Make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If there was a really important one I missed, like maybe there is one of those little bugs in there that was a big deal that I didn't immediately realize either. But yeah, make sure to leave all that in the comments down below. Leaving a like if you did happen to enjoy is always greatly appreciated. I don't ask often for you to subscribe, but you can definitely do that as well. It is free after all, just little taparoo there. Thanks guys, as always, for watching, and until next time.